Stacey Castor's life took a heartbreaking turn when she tragically lost her first husband to a sudden heart attack and her second husband to suicide. To make matters worse, her oldest daughter Ashley tried to kill herself, leaving a distressing note that revealed shocking secrets. Surprisingly, Ashley survived, and when she woke up, her astonishing revelations left everyone shocked. This story is a story about a person who showed a truly mean and evil nature. This is a story about Stacey Castor, also known as the Black Widow. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Jewel Onuk, and hi, welcome back to True Crime Jewel. It's your first time stopping by. Hi, thank you guys so much for stopping by, and I'm glad you decided to watch my video. If you're not subscribed, kindly click on the subscribe button, like this video, and yeah, thank you guys so much for stopping by. So guys, today we're going to talk about the case of Stacey Castor, which is also known as the Black Widow. So if you're not subscribed, kindly subscribe and like this video. And yeah, let's get into this whole story. Stacey Castor, she was born on July 24th, 1967 in Clay, New York, and her parents' names were Jerry Daniels and Judy Eaton. From a very young age, Stacey had big dreams, and she would often express her desire to become a paralegal or a lawyer. And even when she was in high school, she took classes that would set her on this path to achieving those goals. However, her aspirations, they just took a U-turn when she met a young man named Michael Wallace. And she met him when she was only 17 years old. And when it came to Michael, Stacey considered Michael, expressed that Michael was the love of her life. Stacey would often tell people that when she met Michael, that it was love at first sight, and that Michael had this vibrant personality and was always like the life of the party, and that Michael was capable of providing whatever anybody needed. Whenever she recalled her first encounter with Michael, she would say that she knew 5 minutes after she met Michael that she was going to marry him. Side note, I actually don't believe in love at first sight. I don't believe that you can see somebody the first instant and you love them directly. You want to argue, you can argue, but honestly, I do not believe in love at first sight. But let's get right into this story. Stacey Castor and Michael, they actually had a very modest wedding ceremony, and they got married on April 7th, 1990. And 2 years before they actually got married, they welcomed their first daughter, Ashley, in 1988. And a year after they had gotten married, they welcomed their second daughter, Brie. To outsiders looking in, the family, they appeared to be a typical and happy family. Even though they were faced with financial hardship, Stacey actually worked at an ambulance dispatch company, while Michael worked as a mechanic, and this required them to be very careful with their finances, and also this required them to work a lot. So despite their financial struggles, they were seen as this very loving family from outside. There were rumors that circulated that Michael must have been dealing with substance abuse issues, and there were also suggestions of infidelities that were happening on both sides. Like, people suspected that Stacey and Michael were both committing adultery with different people. Despite everything that happened, they still managed to stay together despite their differences. Ashley was very close to her mom, while Brie was very close to her dad. So Ashley was known as her mom's favorite, while Brie was known as her dad's favorite. But Stacey and Michael, they just continued growing apart. Even though they were drifting apart, they still stayed married for the sake of their kids. And there were also rumors that stated that Stacey might be thinking about getting a divorce. To outsiders, the family appeared to be a typical and happy one, although they faced financial hardships. In 1999, during the winter period, things actually did get worse. Michael felt sick all the time, and doctors could not figure out why he kept falling sick. He would suddenly start coughing, and he would suddenly start feeling very unsteady. So most times it would appear like he was drunk, even though he hadn't been drinking. He went to doctors so many times, and doctors could not determine what was the root cause of his problems. Doctors even thought that maybe he had an inner ear problem, and they planned to do more tests on Michael. But one day, Ashley was home alone with him, and Michael had another episode of his sickness. So Ashley, when she looked at him, she actually said that her dad looked pale and sick. Also, I want to ask this question: what is the correlation between inner ear and how does it affects, because I've seen like some cases, not like crime cases per se, where like people will be sick, they won't find out why they are sick till their ear is being tested. And I just want to know like the correlation between the inner ear and the body. If anybody has an answer to that, please let me know. Thank you. Ashley later shared that there was a time where her dad sat up and he vomited on the coffee table, and then he went back to sleep as if nothing happened. On January 11, 2000, something tragic occurred. Michael Wallace, he was found unresponsive on his couch, and he passed away at the age of 38 years old. The doctor said that it was due to heart attack, which is unusual for someone so young, but not impossible. Ashley, at this time, she was only 12 years old. She saw how sick her dad was that day, but she blamed herself because she actually did not encourage her dad to go to the doctor. So she said that if she had encouraged her dad to go to the doctor, maybe her dad wouldn't have died. Some of Michael's family, they wanted to investigate further. They wanted to conduct an autopsy on Michael because they did not believe that Michael would suddenly have a heart attack, because they said that prior to him dying, prior to him having this heart attack, he had like strange symptoms before he died. So they were like, how come he had all these strange symptoms and all of a sudden now he died of a heart attack? So Stacey, who was, however, his closest relative, she refused to have an autopsy done. She said that she trusted the doctor's conclusion, and she trusted that Michael actually did have a heart attack. So she declined the offer of an autopsy being carried out on Michael. Michael was buried in one of Stacey's family plots at the local cemetery, and here they had a shared headstones with the words "Together Forever" engraved on it. Stacey also received a life insurance policy of Michael's death, and it was totaled the sum of $55,000. The next year, Stacey met her second husband, David Castor, and they got married in August 2003. Stacey changed her last name to match his. David had a grown-up son who was also named David Jr., and this son was from a previous marriage, and Stacey had two teenage daughters, that's Ashley and Bree, and they were from her own first marriage. So Ashley and Bree, they struggled with their mom's new marriage because they were still grieving their dad's loss and they didn't want anybody to replace him. Stacey, later down the line, she said that David was tough on the kids because he expected them to obey him without any questions. And since they were her children, they always questioned everything that David actually told them to do. So David owned a company that installed and repaired air conditioning systems, and Stacey worked at his office as his manager. So despite her daughter's initial unhappiness, their family and friends just thought that Stacey and David had a very happy relationship and a very happy marriage in the first years of their marriage. One afternoon in August 2005, Stacey called 911 because her husband David had locked himself in their bedroom and wouldn't respond. She was worried because they had a very big argument and he was feeling depressed, and that's what Stacey reported to the authorities. The police, they arrived and they broke down the door to the bedroom, and they just saw David. David was laying naked and unresponsive on the bed. There was vomit on the bed, and there was vomit on the floor, and there was a glass with green liquid and a container of antifreeze nearby. Stacey screamed that he was alive, but paramedics, they confirmed that he died. So basically, she was just like screaming, "He's alive, do everything you can to save him." But paramedics were like, "No, ma'am, he's dead." They confirmed that he's dead. At first value, it seemed like David had died from suicide because Stacey had told the authorities that David was depressed after his dad's death. So honestly, they just thought that, okay, at first, like maybe David had killed himself. However, David's ex-wife, Janice, she did not believe that he would just take his own life. The police also, they became suspicious when they found a turkey-based stove with antifreeze traces in the kitchen garbage. They also discovered Stacey's fingerprints on the glass with antifreeze on the nightstand. Furthermore, David had also updated his will, and in his will, he had actually left everything to Stacey, and he had taking his son out of the will. So after the police started this, they just went into a 2-year investigation. They monitored the cemetery and they wiretapped Stacey's phone. They noticed that there were similarities between the death of Stacey's 2 husbands, and they also suspected that she might have also poisoned them. So they obtained a warrant to exhume the body of Stacey's first husband, and they had an autopsy on Stacey's first husband, and they realized that he died from antifreeze because they found antifreeze poisoning in his system. So the authorities, they called Stacey in for questioning. So during questioning, Stacey made a slip of the tongue. She mentioned pouring antifreeze instead of cranberry juice. So basically what had happened was that the investigator, whoever was interrogating her, had asked her, oh, which glass, there were 2 glasses there, which glass did you pour the cranberry juice in? And she was like, when I poured the antifreeze, then she was like, sorry, the cranberry juice. So basically, because she had made this mistake, she was aware that she was being watched closely, and she knew that the connection between the death of her 2 husbands were being investigated. And despite the evidence that the police and the investigators actually had on Stacey, she was released due to insufficient proof. A few days later, investigators actually informed Ashley, that's Stacey's daughter, that her father died from antifreeze poisoning. Ashley was very devastated because she had no idea who would have done that, and she did not even imagine that her mom would be the one to harm her father. So Ashley, she actually did call her mom for support, and Stacey asked her what the police had questioned her. And then as she was talking to Ashley, she also suggested that her and Ashley have drinks together. Ashley went home, she had a few drinks with her mom, and she eventually passed out. And Stacey also offered to celebrate Ashley's 21st birthday early by making cocktails. Ashley drank the cocktails, and to her at first, when she drank these cocktails, they actually tasted awful. And because Stacey, Ashley at this time, she was not 21 years, so she was very happy because, oh, her mom is celebrating her 21st birthday and her mom's allowing her to drink. So she just saw this as a good, perfect bonding time with her mom. So when her mom, because when she drank the first drink, everything was fine, and her mom did cocktails for her. So when she drank the second one, it was so awful, but her mom was like, see, alcohols don't actually taste nice. So let me give you a trick. I'm going to give you a straw. You take this straw and then you just drink it so that it just goes straight to the back of your throat and you won't have to feel anything. So Ashley actually trusted her mom and she followed her mom's instructions, and that's how she actually did drink this cocktail. The next morning, Ashley was unresponsive in her bed, and sister actually found a previously unseen note that was beside her. So quickly, they called the paramedics, and the paramedics, they arrived and they tested Ashley, and the test revealed that Ashley had been given a potentially deadly dose of painkillers. And according to the hospital, if Ashley had not been found at the time where she was found, that she would have actually died. So the note turned out to be a typed suicide note and confession to murder, and it actually consisted of 750 words. So the notes, I'm going to put on the screen, guys, you will not be able to decipher whatever this note says because there are no punctuations, there are no commas, there's no semicolon. So like, honestly, like, you cannot even decipher what this is on face value. And the letter, 750 words, is so long, but I'm just going to like give you guys like a few excerpts of what the note actually said. So the note said, Mommy, when you read this letter, just remember that I love you and everything I did is because I love you. I'm sorry all of this is happening to you, but now everyone is going to know what really happened, and they know that it wasn't you, it was me. No one was ever supposed to know about Daddy. I told you when Daddy died that it was my fault, and it was. And like I said, like, this letter that was typed initially was just one giant run-on sentence. There were no periods, there were no proper punctuations, they were just full of, spelling mistakes. And when Ashley actually did wake up from her coma, the police, they actually questioned her, and she would say, I actually woke up in the hospital and I had no idea what day it was. I had no idea where I was. One of the detectives was asking me questions like, what was in that note that you wrote? And I was like, What letter? What pills are you talking about? All I remember was having a drink with my mom, and that's all I knew. When they had interviewed Ashley, when they interrogated Ashley, it was immediately clear to the investigators that Ashley had not written the confession letter. She had not killed her father, she had not killed her stepfather, and she had not attempted to take her own life. It was also clear that Stacey had also poisoned her daughter, and that she had placed that typewritten letter beside her daughter in an attempt to kill her daughter and place all the blame on her daughter. So the daughter that she supposedly was close to, the daughter that she actually did call her best friend, this woman was willing to take the life of her daughter just to cover her own face. So the interrogators, they actually arrested Stacey at the hospital, and they charged Stacey with the murder of David Castor and the attempted murder of Ashley the very same day. She was indicted on 1 count each of second-degree murder and second-degree attempted murder. And there was also a plot to present a forged will. So, of course, as usual, she pleaded not guilty. She said she was not involved in either her husband's death or her daughter's poisoning. But thankfully, like the prosecutors, they actually had a whole ton of evidence to suggest that, see, you are responsible for this. So they presented all this evidence to back up their theory. On January 2009, Stacey went on trial, and there was like a one-piece evidence that was actually presented, and it was the typed confession and suicide letter that had been found beside Ashley. So the prosecutors actually alleged that Stacey had written it and she had framed her daughter for it. And one reason they believed this was because of the way antifreeze was written in the letter. So antifreeze in the letter was written as anti-free, which is how Stacey had said antifreeze whenever she was being interviewed by police. If you guys can remember, when she was like, oh, I put the anti-free. So that's how she actually pronounces antifreeze. She pronounces it as anti-free. So the police, when they had presented this suicide note that was claimed that Ashley had written, when they presented it, they were like, she spelled antifreeze as anti-free. And this is how she pronounces antifreeze in her interrogations. So they also pointed out that the glass of antifreeze that was found in David Castor's bedroom had Stacey's fingerprints on it, and that the stocking baster also had traces of antifreeze that they found in the trash can of the home. They also pointed that the glass of antifreeze that was found in David Castor's bedroom had Stacey's fingerprint on it, and also the turkey baster that they had found. They actually found the turkey baster in the trash in their home. It also had antifreeze on it, and it had, not only did it have antifreeze on it, we also had David's DNA on the end of the turkey baster. The investigators were like, why would David use a turkey baster to poison his own self? Like, if he wanted to poison himself with antifreeze, he would have just, drank the antifreeze. Why did he have to go take the turkey baster? And it just did not make sense. And also, they were like, if he also wanted to kill himself, why would he want to kill himself with antifreeze when antifreeze is a very slow way of killing yourself? It appeared that Stacey had actually force-fed him the poison with the turkey baster. And while the majority of the people believed that Stacey was guilty, and many people calling her Black Widow, Stacey's mom, that's Ashley's grandmom, actually stood beside her daughter Stacey, and she said that Stacey did not kill her husband and her ex-husband, that basically it was her granddaughter Ashley who killed her father and her stepfather. Guys, I can't even believe this, honestly. Not only did Stacey's mom argue this, also this was what the defense also argues. And even though Ashley was only 12 years at the time where her dad died, they said that Ashley had always had mental health issues and that she had plenty of time to kill both men, and that her written confession actually sealed the whole deal. In the end, after like 4 days of deliberation, the jury, they did not agree, and Stacey was convicted of second-degree murder of David Castor and attempted murder of her daughter, and also for forging David Castor's will, leaving all of his money to her. Stacey was sentenced to 51 years in prison, but she would hardly serve any time in prison because she actually died at the age of 48 in prison. There was no foul play that was suspected, but wow, honestly. Some people actually do believe that this is karma. I don't think this is karma. I feel like the real karma would have been like maybe if she had lived in prison till she was 51 years, and then like maybe the day before she was to be released from prison, she dies. Then we would say that's the real karma. You live out your term and then you die and then you go to hell, basically. Anyways, Stacey, she's buried in the plot next to her first husband, Michael Willis. She'd have actually been buried in the plot like close to her two husbands, but her stepson, that's David Jr., he actually requested that his dad be legally moved from her own plot because remember, she buried both of her husbands on her own plot. So he asked that his remains be legally removed. So he was exhumed and he was buried somewhere else. So Stacey was buried beside her first husband. But guys, can you imagine how disgusting this woman is? Like, you kill two people and you bury them together. Like, excuse me. Anyways, there's also some speculations that came out that Stacey may have killed her dad because just like her dad was sick, like he was very sick, and he kept going to the hospital. And there was a time when Stacey went to visit her dad in the hospital, and she carried like an open can of soda, and she gave her dad, and her dad drank it. And when she left, her dad actually did die. When her dad died, she took over his estate and took over his assets, and she allowed his body to be cremated, and she also buried her dad on the same land where she buried her two husbands and where she was buried too. And yeah, people actually believe that, she actually killed her dad. People actually believe that she actually killed her dad. But the thing is, like, obviously they could not prove this because, again, she had his body cremated. So the investigators are like, damn, because I'm sure they would have checked if she had actually killed her dad. If she had actually killed her dad, that means she should have been like a serial killer because you have to have killed 3 people to be classified as a serial killer, which is so scary. I don't know how people are so comfortable taking each other's life on taking people's life, because how can you kill your dad? Because at the end of the day, the asset is still yours, if that makes sense. So killing your parents, I don't always understand that thing. I don't understand how you kill your parents because you're not patient enough to be handed over to you, for their properties to be handed over to you as it should be. Anyways, but guys, that brings us to the end of this story. Hi, thank you guys so much for stopping by. Hi, thank you guys so much for stopping by. If you like this, kindly please like this video, comment, do you think Stacey actually did kill her dad? Comments, and thank you guys so much. Share this video if you care, subscribe if you're not subscribed to my channel, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.